So last week we talked about how to get started house sitting and just basically what house sitting is. This week we're going to talk about the pros and cons, what to expect when you get to a house sit, and just hear some fun stories about our personal adventures house sitting.
Oh, stick around today as we get into part 2 of our 2-part house sitting series. We're going to help give you the information you need to get house sitting assignments around the world in the location of your dreams for the cost of $0. So stick around after the intro, we'll get right into it.
Reading the scripture from the Rolling Stone, in a rock and roll rapture, we'll be driving in our van. Suddenly we'll disappear to the promised land. Oh yeah, we wanna be saved by the river.
Thanks everybody for coming back after that intro. So we are going to start by talking about the pros and cons of house sitting. There are a few of each, but we're going to just cover the top 5 that we found with house sitting. So I'll go through the pros. You want to go through the cons?
That sounds perfect.
Awesome. So we'll start with the good stuff first. Pros. Cost or lack thereof. When you house sit, it costs $0 besides your annual fee that you pay for the website.
For the membership.
For the membership, yeah, it's $0 to house sit. Second one, you are moving into somebody's house, so you have all the amenities of a home. You feel at home. All the stuff in the kitchen, all the stuff in the living room. It's different than a hotel where you're like, man, I forgot to pack that and now I don't have it. You're always going to have what you need. I would say always, but we never had an issue with getting something that we needed.
Yeah.
Number 3, you're going to meet really cool hosts. The people that you're house sitting for are oftentimes really, really interesting. They're going on great adventures as well. They have really interesting stories, and you get to become friends with them. You mean you've taken care of their house and their pets, so it's a really cool way to build some relationships all over the world. 4, animals. You get to interact with some really cool animals as well. Dogs, cats, chickens, ducks. So we've had some really cool animals that we've met along the way, and some of our all-time favorites, in fact.
Yeah.
And it's just 5, pro number 5, it's just a memorable experience. It is a cool way to see the world. You always come away with some interesting stories, as you guys will hear throughout this webisode, and you just get to see the world in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, at the end of the day, that is why we travel, is to have wonderful or memorable, at least,
Right.
experiences, because that's what sticks with you after you get back home, is those memories.
Right.
Awesome. So Rachel just covered the top 5 pros of house sitting. Let's talk about the cons of house sitting. So coming in at number 1, fur babies, we love you, but you are the number 1 con of house sitting. Animals oftentimes equal stress, and they always equal responsibility.
Yes.
So the freedom that you wanted is going to be at least diminished and potentially eliminated.
Depending on the animal.
So just be sure to do your research. Details. Number 2, not only do animals come with responsibility comes with responsibility. You might be entrusted to do some chores. Maybe it's gardening, maybe it's mowing the grass. Of course, it's feeding and taking care of the animals, changing kitty litter, etc. There's going to be responsibilities. Those don't exist at the hostel or the hotel or the Airbnb, so you might want to think about that. Number 3, privacy. Now, ideally, you're going to watch someone's house when they go on vacation. But that's not always the case. Maybe they're still going to be there, but they want somebody to help take care of the animals while they're busy doing something in their life. Also, even if they do go on. You never know what kind of neighbors you're going to have. So, details. Number 4, and we would really encourage you to think of this, is location. And what I'm getting at is unideal locations. How far are you from the grocery? How far are you from a major city that you wanted to see the attractions in? Are you so busy house sitting that you can't even go? Think of those things, location. And then finally, to round out the list of cons is high maintenance hosts.
Yes.
Trust me, as humans, we're all quirky, right? But you're basically a service provider for an employer, essentially, as a house sitter. You're going to have to kind of defer to them. I mean, unless they're doing something unsafe, and it's just a logical thing that you would, report something to an authority or something. But you're probably going to have to deal with some quirks, and those can be difficult, especially if you are living under the same roof, either on the front end or the back end of your trip, or potentially the whole assignment, depending on what your house sitting assignment looks like.
Yeah.
So just to recap, we have the top 5 pros.
Yes. Free of cost. You're settling into somebody's home. It's easy to settle in. You're going to meet some really cool people along the way. Animals are a lot of times really fun to interact with. And just generally, it's a really memorable experience.
That's right. Now, on the other side of things, the cons. Animals equals stress. Chores and responsibility. Privacy could be a concern. Unideal locations. Where is your house at? And number 5, homeowners. We're all quirky, but can you deal with the quirks of your homeowner? Because
Right.
you're going to have to.
So with those things listed out, we thought we would share a couple stories with you of how we have felt at a couple of our house sits and some of the pros and cons that have positively or negatively affected our experience. So our very first house sit actually ended up being one of our favorites. We had no clue what we were doing, but we were in southern Spain for 2 months in this very quaint, beautiful little town. Location-wise, it was gorgeous. We were just outside of town. We could see it. We did have to walk a ways to get to
You have
town,
Go down a canyon, another canyon.
but it was like an adventure. It gave
Yeah.
us a good reason to get out and hike around. Also, we had a car at that sit, so we could travel. We could go get groceries super easy. I know we're going to bring up groceries a lot, but if you can't get access to the grocery store very easily, it does add to your cost.
It's a really big deal.
And it makes life a little more difficult. So we had a car, we had a beautiful location. We did have 3 animals, 2 dogs and a cat, but they liked to go on walks and they were pretty easy maintenance wise. There was a pool, so amenities. Not only did we have a gorgeous view, but we had a gorgeous pool.
Ridiculous. Mediterranean view, beautiful pool. Mountain
Yes.
view. Oh my gosh, it was stupid.
It was really awesome and memorable, obviously, because we've done lots of house sits and that one really stands out. And we got to live in a resort style home for free for 2 months.
And that was through Mind My House, which is at the time we purchased it at least a $20 a year
Yeah, a year.
membership.
Yeah. So
So-
for $20, we got a 2-month house sit in a gorgeous location in a place that people pay thousands of dollars to go
Yeah.
visit. Overall, it is a very memorable, awesome house sit.
But that one is a case study of pros.
Success.
So let's talk about one that is a case study of the cons.
Yes.
Now, to preface this, there were pros. We met incredible people that we are friends with to today, and we don't regret it.
No.
But that being said, we would have avoided it.
We would have chosen differently. Yeah, we can say that.
I think that's fair. That would be our house sit in Ireland. Now, we bring this up because for us, we like animals, but we are not like animal worshipers, right? Like, I think it's important to know that you don't have to be like religious about animal
Right.
loving to do house sitting. You just have to like them and do what you say you're going to do.
Be responsible.
Be responsible, right? This house sit had 10 animals. Now, that is called a farm, okay? And you may or may not want to do a farm sit, and we would fall into the do not want to do a farm sit camp, because that's a lot of work, right? Now, it's if you want to, knock your socks off. But for us, it was a lot of work. Our amount of chores that we had to do, the sourcing of the food from town every week, for example, and we didn't have a car, so we used a bicycle and our awesome Tortuga backpacks, by the way, were
Yes.
our grocery getters. There's probably unideal location. We were told the distance from town, but it ended up being not as expected, especially with the busyness of the road that we had to take to town. And then there was a puppy, and if you watched our first webisode, do avoid puppies if you can, unless you are a bleeding heart lover of animals and you just want to do the puppy thing.
You just want to spend all your time with the animals.
Right.
And you're probably thinking, didn't you know all of this from the description? And you would think so. And that is why we find that this webisode and the last one are very important, because
Right.
we booked this house sit very early. We
Yeah.
were excited because it was a month long, because we wanted to be at places for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
We were just trying to get some things booked because it was more of a cost thing for us to be able to travel. And if the longer we could book a house sit,
Right.
then that was free rent.
Right.
So we overlooked some of
We
the
did.
details, and we learned a lot along the way.
This is a perfect example, what you're saying,
Yeah.
of a two-way street where we weren't concerned enough with our
Exactly.
enjoyment
Right.
of the sit.
Yeah.
We were just trying to fill in the calendar, like you said.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
There's tons of ways to fill in a calendar with incredibly cost-efficient ways of staying around the world. You don't need to stay for free. And I mean, if you do, I guess you do. But there's even other ways to do that, and we'll talk about that in a future webisode.
Right.
So for us, Ireland represented the cons because lack of freedom, too much caring for too many animals.
Yeah.
And by the way, there was also no privacy because the house was gorgeous, but the homeowner was getting a lot of work done on it, and there were always workers around. So being out in the middle of nowhere, which should result in privacy, actually had none. Right?
Except for, like Chris mentioned, we met some of the best people we've met in our entire trip. They took great care of us, and we would not take this back for that reason. But knowing what we know now, we probably wouldn't have chosen this one based on just what it was on paper. So the reason that we tell you this story is so that you can learn from this, because if somebody had told us on the front end the same thing, we would have been very grateful, because we would have saved ourselves a lot of grief through some of our house sits.
Yeah, we were feeling way too much pressure just to make world travel cheap. Okay, so those are a couple case studies in representing the pros and the cons of house sitting. So let's move on to the next segment that we're going to do, and we just wanted to give you guys an idea of what the first day and kind of what to expect leading up to the first day of a house sit. So let's say, about a week out, what are some things that you would say people want to look out for or work on?
So about a week out, you want to make contact with your host if you haven't already been in contact with the homeowner during this time. But a week out is a great time to just say, hey, just want to make sure everything's good, kind of get your travel plans out there. We're planning on coming in this day, figuring out how you're going to get from the bus, train, airport to the house, because sometimes that is tricky depending on if there's public transportation. Do they need to make plans to come pick you up? Do you need to figure out if you need to hire a car? However you're going to go about that, but that is a good time to start figuring out those details. And then about 1 or 2 days before, confirm. This is when we're coming in. Here's a picture of my plane ticket or my bus ticket.
Right.
Like, that we are going to be in at this time. How do we contact you? You should already have contact information, but how do we contact you, maybe outside of the app or just a quick text message?
So once you arrive at the city or the town, you're probably going to make your way to the home. Now, one thing we would recommend is show up at least with some groceries if they're not picking you up. And if they are picking you up, we would really recommend going to the grocery store on the way to their house. Take advantage of that car ride and that trunk space to carry, especially some of the heavier grocery items you're going to need for your time there. A sack of potatoes, a big thing of cooking oil, things of that nature that are really heavy and tough to get on foot.
We've only had one house sit with a car.
Yeah.
All the other ones, we either got picked up or we walked everywhere. And so when we did have somebody willing to pick us up with a car, we eventually learned that it was best at that point to like, hey, instead of picking us up at the bus station, can you just pick us up at this grocery store
Right.
an hour after our arrival time so we could go to the grocery, get all the things that we might need.
Yep.
And just so you know, most homeowners let you use their spices, their cooking oils, all of that fun stuff, but groceries are not typically included. So anything else that you might need, you need to purchase on your own. And like Chris said, the heavy stuff, especially if you can get it when you have a car ride, do it.
Yeah.
And that will save you a lot of grief.
It will. I know that seems insignificant at this point, but trust us, we've learned to incorporate that into day one.
Yes.
Next, the natural thing to talk about first is animals. And by the way, you're making a first impression during these moments. So have your game face on, be, the job interview version of yourself.
Right. Be your best self.
Yeah. I'm not saying don't be yourself, just be your professional self,
Yeah.
like you said.
Yeah.
So talk about animals pretty much immediately. Remember their names. You might want to rehearse this before you arrive. Not only know the homeowners' names, but oh my gosh, it's Scruffy. You told me about Scruffy's medicine. If you bring up their medicine before the homeowner does, you've just earned points. And remember, first impressions are a big component of your review. So you're being your authentic self, but you're being your professional self. You're thinking about your review from the get-go.
Yeah.
So also you should just genuinely care. I hate to actually have to say that, but you do actually care.
Right.
So you're talking about the animals. How do you care for them? Where's the food? What's the feeding schedule?
Right.
Do they take medicine? What is the name of the medicine? When do you give the medicine? You're going to take them for walks potentially. Where's the leashes? Let's talk about recommended walks. Maybe there's a specific place to avoid with like a mean dog, or maybe there's a really beautiful place. Talk about those things.
Yeah. And a great thing to bring up is just maybe offer to go on a walk with them. Hey, can I go on your normal evening walk so I can see where it is?
Yeah.
You can get to maybe know the neighbors if you walk past people during the walk.
Yeah.
Another thing too with animals is a lot of times, depending on how long you're going to be there, where is the backup food? Do you need to go get backup food? Our very first house sit, we had to refill a prescription partway through, so we had to know where the pharmacy was. Also, we had to know where the veterinary office was. So just
talk about those emergency contacts.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, prepare yourself and make sure you have the answers to these questions, because if the homeowner is unreachable during their vacation, which is very possible, you need to know how to best handle a situation.
So we talked a little bit about emergency contacts. The other things on emergency contacts: neighbors' names, numbers, family, friends, especially the veterinarian, but also plumbers, electricians, anything that could normally go wrong with a house or property.
Yeah.
Some of those heavy hitters, just like at home.
And I mean, we were at this place for 2 months, so that's a long time to be at somebody's house. Shorter house sits, you might not need to have all of this information. Maybe you just have a neighbor that you can call if something happens, and they'll take care of it. But for 2 months at a house, you don't want to be bugging the neighbor all the time if you don't have to. So having these numbers for you on the front end is a huge, huge help.
Let's get into some of so we've kind of gotten through the animal portion of this. Let's talk about some stuff that you might not think about asking on day one, but from our experience, you definitely should ask about on
By
day
day
one.
5, you're thinking, man, I wish I would have asked that question.
Well, let's go through the list.
Okay.
Number 1, what would you say is the most important thing?
Internet is important.
I would definitely agree.
We work from home, so knowing how to reset the router, where is the router, do they typically have problems? Does it cut out during the storm?
Of course, username and password.
Yeah, that's usually pretty given. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, I wonder where the router is, so we can try resetting that. Oh, we forgot to ask about that.
Yeah, because the reality is your homeowners might be on a vacation where it's not easy to connect with them.
Right.
So you having these answers before they leave is really kind of the name of the game.
Breaker box is huge too.
Totally.
We've had multiple times where we've blown a fuse, and that's an easy fix. You don't have to call in an electrician for them to flip the breaker.
Right. Coming in next, but a super important one, is the alarm system and any type of security cameras.
Yeah.
So that gets weird, and that kind of goes into the remember earlier in the cons list where we talked about privacy.
Right.
It's almost like having a neighbor in the house you're watching, potentially, depending on how they do their security cameras within the house. So it's something that you deserve to know about.
Right.
You know, just in case you're walking from the shower to your bedroom, like, come on, that's weird. You should know about that. And the alarm, you don't want to set off an alarm and have cops show up at the house. Like, that's just bad for everybody. So alarm system and security cameras.
Another thing that you probably don't think about until it's too late is how to run the water heater. This is an odd concept for people from the United States. And it is a very common thing in Europe to have a water heater that does not run all the time, which actually is brilliant.
It's
and
really smart,
so conservative of energy, and just, it makes sense. You don't need your water hot all the time. However, when you do want to take a shower and you are allergic to cold showers, like me, then you want to know how to turn the water heater on and how soon before you want to shower. So like in Ireland, for example, we needed to turn the water heater on at least 30 minutes before. But we didn't even think to ask about where the water heater was. So for the first week, we took cold showers until finally we found it. And we're like, oh, there's the water heater switch. So just ask about that. And
the funny thing is this house was basically a mansion. So it was like the last thing on our mind. Same token as that, appliances.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're significantly different than the appliances you're used to. Is it gas? Is it electric? You know,
is there a weird quirk? Do you need to push? We've had a couple where it's like, in order to get this to work, you have to push this in and turn this left 3 times, and then
the igniter is
and
on
then
gas
pat your
stoves
head,
especially.
and then it'll work.
Right.
So know those tricks beforehand. It's also something you don't want to bother your homeowners with on their vacation.
TVs and entertainment systems.
Yeah.
Are there 4 remotes with 25 buttons each? And
Right.
like sometimes it gets kind of complex and crazy because, I mean, you know, sometimes the homeowners just, it makes sense to them, but it actually takes quite a bit of explaining.
Right.
So I would recommend getting to know how to operate that before they head out as well.
And then the final thing that you might not think about is local info. And by this we mean, is there a festival going on while you're going to be there? That could be really fun, but that could also be really, maybe the buses are going to be way busier, and that day you were going to go do something else and you didn't know there was a festival, and now you can't get a ride to the place you wanted to go. Or you hiked into town to get groceries to find out that it's a bank holiday there and nothing's open.
Or a fun story. First of all, Northern Ireland is really safe and awesome people.
Yes.
However, there is I believe it's July 12th. I'd have to look this up.
I think you're right.
We didn't really know about the whole July 12th thing. And we heard a lot of gunshots happen at one point. And that was concerning because it happened on the same day. But we found out that the neighbor just raises pheasants to hunt, apparently, which is also kind of quirky. No shade, no judgment, but happening on the day of kind of a politically charged holiday.
A religious charged holiday where there's been some previous violence.
It was concerning to us, let's just say that. So after some texts, emergency texts.
After running around the house, getting all the dogs in, closing all of the blinds, and hovered down in the kitchen being like, okay, what do we do? Texting the homeowners and them texting back saying, oh, we should have told you about that. The neighbors like to hunt during this time. I'm sure they got a huge kick out of it, but we were pretty terrified for a minute because we're like, we didn't even know the emergency contact number, which is also something like the 911 of wherever you're at. You should know that number as well.
Let's go over just a summary of day 1 things to talk about. First and foremost, you're making an impression, you're working on your great review, be professional. We would recommend talking about animals as soon as possible. Medicine, walks, routine, all the things associated with an animal. Next up, we would go with emergency contact information.
Yes.
Very important. But before you arrive at the house, sorry, what's the thing they should do on the way?
Oh, confirm details. You're
Yep.
coming, you're going to be here at this time. What time are you picking me up? How do I get a hold of you? All of that information. Confirm, confirm, confirm.
And then stop by the grocery store on the way.
Yes.
On day
If
one,
you can.
if you can. We really recommend it.
At least stopping to get enough to get you through a day so
Yep.
that you have time where you're not like, oh my gosh, I'm starving.
That's right.
And most homeowners that we found actually do make you dinner on the first night there, so you don't have to worry about food typically the very first day you arrive. It's just the next day when they've left and you're trying to figure out what you're doing,
Yep.
and you're like, oh, I don't have any food. But if you just pick up enough on your way, it's good.
Just to roll through some of the last things on the list for day one: internet, password, username, all the resetting the router, electronics, breaker box. You need to make sure you know how to turn that on or off. Alarm and security system, cameras, water heater. Where is that thing? How does it work? Appliances. Can you light that gas stove?
Right.
Sometimes it's very complex. TV, remotes, etc.
Right.
And then
Local info.
local info and
Holidays.
neighbors.
Yeah. Neighbors are there's usually at least one neighbor on your contact list, but it's nice if you can meet one before the homeowners leave so you can be introduced.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll help you on day one, just kind of know what to expect. It's a very nerve-wracking day. Every time you meet a new homeowner, it's a little nerve-wracking. You're never 100% sure what the situation's going to be like.
It's just inherently awkward. It's
Yeah,
like a
it is
first date.
awkward. It is like a first date. So just be prepared for that too. It's going to be a little awkward. You know, if the animal doesn't like you right away, it's okay. You know, you're intruding on their space. Like, don't freak out. Just work on getting to know the animal. Really, you just want to make the homeowners feel secure that you are going to take good care of everything. So we just went over how to make a good first impression and what to expect on your first day. But almost more importantly is what you do on the day you leave, because they're going to come back from vacation and they are going to ultimately leave you a review pretty shortly after this interaction that they have with you.
Yeah.
So there's a few things that will help with your review and help make your homeowner feel like you did an excellent job, even if there were some fumbles in between.
Okay, so let's get into the days coming up to the time you're leaving.
Yeah.
So coming up to that arrival date that your homeowner is going to arrive back home, let's go ahead and confirm their arrival details in a few days in advance if possible. If you're having a long sit, I would probably recommend like a week out. Go ahead and kind of, hey, hope your vacation's going well. Just wanted to confirm your arrival time and date, and get them thinking about it.
Right.
Because you basically don't want them kind of abusing your hospitality.
Right.
You have travel plans as well, so let's go ahead and firm things up.
Yeah.
Make sure we're respecting each other's time.
Yeah.
Replace the consumables that you've used. Maybe you've used all of the salt and pepper, for example, or you used the last roll of toilet paper. That would be kind of a crappy thing to do to your homeowner, right? To leave such a thing unstocked.
Yeah.
So
yeah, just be considerate when they arrive home. If they left stuff for you to use, just make sure that they have that same stuff to use when they come home as well.
Exactly.
The next thing is huge.
Huge.
Clean the house well.
Yep.
A clean house equals a
good review.
It really does. If they walk in and their house is clean and they just got back from vacation and it's like a house cleaner came in, it's huge. They can relax. They can feel like all their nervousness about what kind of mess the house is going to be left in after somebody being in it for 2 months.
Yep.
It really makes a huge difference. And some people have house cleaners. So some of the house sits will actually have somebody come in and clean the house.
Yeah.
We never actually stayed at one of those, but we
one of them, south side of Edinburgh,
oh
Scotland.
Yeah, we did have one house sit where they had a house cleaner.
Yeah.
But it's not hard. You pick up after yourself when you're staying there. But by clean the house, we mean like clean the house. When
Yeah.
they walk in, it's pretty sparkling, and
Yeah.
it looks better than when they left it. It's
Exactly.
always a good rule of thumb. and cleaning the house also can mean cleaning the animals.
Right.
If you can bathe the animals before they come
Yeah.
home, make sure that everybody's brushed and looking and smelling good, that
Right.
also gives them the sense that you did take good care of them. And if you can't for whatever reason, it's okay, but it's a nice additive. Like, oh my gosh, my dog smells like it's recently bathed. This
Right.
is amazing.
If
Like,
that dog rolls around in the dirt, you're not letting it out after that final wash.
No.
Right?
Right. You just keep that dog in there. You wash it an hour before they come home. You just keep that thing inside.
Right.
And you make sure that thing looks cleaner than it's ever looked before.
So, another thing to think about those right before the homeowner's coming home is go ahead and get your stuff packed up. Pre-pack a little bit, because it's really easy to kind of expand to the space of the home while you're house sitting, and you just have stuff everywhere probably. So get your stuff back together and just don't forget things. It's really easy because you've maybe been living there a while. It kind of feels like home potentially.
It's a lot easier to remember it before they get home and they start putting their stuff on the counter and you don't see your thing. So just pull everything into at least your room before they get there. And
Plus it's clean.
And you just know you have all of your stuff.
So another thing is, it's really nice to maybe get some flowers or a small token of your appreciation, like a small gift. Maybe it's a bottle of wine or something like that, or just a note. Something that expresses your gratitude for them having you, and it goes a long way.
And then also, so they typically are providing dinner for you when you get there because you don't have anything with you. Same for them. Make sure, even if it's a frozen pizza or just something simple so that they have something to eat when they get home and you can eat dinner with them, talk
Right.
about their trip. But
Right.
they also haven't probably gone to the grocery since they've left. So make sure there's something at the house to eat for dinner, or offer to buy takeout, something of that nature.
Pro tip, that's a fun thing to incorporate into your confirmation of arrival texting or messages. Instead of just saying, hey, I'm selfishly making sure you're coming home when you say you are.
Right.
You can say, hey, I was just curious, are you more in the mood for Chinese takeout or do you want a pizza? And just so I get the pizza on time, do you know what time you're arriving? You know what I mean? Like, you can kind of engineer that message to be a little more inviting, if you will.
Right, and just remind them to write the review. So typically in the letter, like, we always leave a note saying thank you for having us, and something memorable from the house sit. And then at the end, we would say we'd really appreciate it if you could leave us a review. And that is all you have to do. So maybe like a week later, just send them an email if they haven't left your review and say, hey, hope you're getting settled back in, and real life has not been too hard on you since vacation. And we're wondering if you could leave us that review. Just a reminder, make it casual, make it conversational, but throw it back in there, because ultimately your reviews are what allow you to get the house sits that you want. Because especially competitive ones, which are usually the awesome ones, are the ones that you're going to want, and without reviews, those are hard to get.
Yeah.
So reviews are important.
So just to recap, the time leading up to your homeowner's arrival back at the house, confirm their arrival, start communicating with them, replace any consumables that you've used, spices, toilet paper, etc. Clean that house. A clean house equals a
Good review. So washing and grooming the animals if you can, making sure you've gathered up all your things out of the house into one room at least, or pre-pack. Flowers are a small gift, or a note, and or combination. Always a good way to leave a house sit.
So just like they made sure you were fed when you arrived, make sure that they have something to eat when they arrive. Consider providing dinner or getting takeout for when your homeowners arrive back. Finally, ask for that review, but it's very important. It's going to empower you to get great sits moving forward. So ask for the review and tell them you'll write your review and actually do it immediately after the sit.
Hopefully all of this has been super helpful. If it has, subscribe below so you can get new notifications when we post new videos. So final takeaways, house sitting is an excellent way to travel cheap, or for free even. You get to meet some great people, meet some great animals, and we don't only mean travel globally, but locally. If you want to go somewhere a couple states away from you and stay for a weekend at somebody else's house, and maybe they have a cat that you have to watch, but you get to stay for free in a beautiful villa on a lake. Sounds like a good way to go on vacation to me.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't have to be global and exotic. It can be local too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Short term, long term.
Experiment with holiday weekends. A lot of people travel on holidays and you can watch their house. Christmas time is a very popular time for house sits. So we do say travel the world for cheap, but remember, it's not free. You're signing up for a responsibility.
Yes.
So just be sure to fully consider if you want the responsibility of house sitting. It can be very rewarding, but it will not come free.
Yeah.
It is a cheap way to travel. It costs you $0, but it costs you potentially some work, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a free lunch.
And that also leads then to be picky. It is a two-way street. They should be happy and you should be happy. And we missed out on that note initially a little bit, and something we didn't value enough. But it is your time. It is your vacation. It is your round the world experience.
Yeah.
Be picky.
Right.
We cannot express that enough.
Exactly. And like you said earlier, even if it's a local house sit and you're not doing this round the world thing like us, it's your holiday weekend where you're going to watch somebody's house. You want to enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
So it's a two-way street. Also talking about where we could have been pickier, we did get burnt out on house sitting, and that's why we've been staying at Airbnbs. Of course, we're also staying at Airbnbs because we're in a really cheap part of the world to visit. So that's another reason is, if you can stay somewhere for a month for $230, you might just pay $230.
With no responsibilities.
Right? So that's the trade-off, right? But just be cognizant that you might get burnt out. You might want to mix it up a little more than for example, we did. Blend in some Airbnbs or some hostels or some other methods of travel and accommodations that will keep things interesting for you.
So we hope you guys really did find this helpful, and that if you do decide to start this house sitting journey, that you'll leave comments below. Let us know how it's going. Let us know if you have any questions that we can help with or advice.
Right. Do you have some tips that we didn't listen?
Yeah.
Or maybe you disagree with something we said. Let's hear about it. Put it down there.
That's right. And now we're going to move on to our next segment.
That's right. So our next segment is Culture by the Glass, where we try a beverage that's significant to a region or a place that we're visiting, and we tell you our tasting notes, and maybe you'll add it to your travel to-do list when you travel there. So today we are trying, and I'm going to pronounce this with my best knowledge of Croatian, a Karlovačko.
Ooh.
Maybe that's close. It's K-A-R-L-O-V-A-C with a cool thing above it, K-O. Let's check it out. So this is what we're gonna try today. It's a half-liter can, but it's packaged in a lot of ways. Famously for this neck of the woods, we see this in a 2-liter plastic bottle, just like Coca-Cola comes in back home in the United States.
Yeah.
This beer this brewery started back in 1854, and it's from just southwest of Zagreb, Croatia. So up in the northern part of the state and quite a bit off the coast. It did start back in 1854, but back in 2003, it was acquired by Heineken Group. So just like many of the little breweries back home in the United States have gotten snatched up by Anheuser-Busch, Heineken added this to their profile in 2003. So let's get a little pour here. Check out the color. So that's what we're working with, if you can see that into the sun there. Just a kind of light lagery look about it. What do you got on the nose there? Kind of stinky, I would say. It has like a I'm gonna say grain bin meets seafood nose. Are you excited yet? Taste wise,
totally.
just kind of a general purpose lager. It's kind of Budweiser-esque.
It's very light, very crisp. It really does not have a ton of flavor. I imagine it's not very good warm.
But I will say, for me at least, I'm curious for you, I like this better than last week's pan or pawn beer. What do you think?
I think I agree. Mainly because I'm not a huge light beer fan, and this has less flavor. It's just clean and crisp.
So let's be real. If you're in Croatia, and specifically if you're in Dubrovnik, don't get these beers. Go to Dubrovnik Beer Company. We're gonna put the link down there. Those beers are fantastic. They have 4 different offerings. They have a lager, a pale ale, a milk stout, and an amazing IPA.
Yes. East Coast hazy IPA.
Now we're talking. We would have included it today on the video shoot, but they're not open quite yet, so we didn't get that planned quite right. But link in the description below. If you like craft beer and you're in Dubrovnik, definitely stop in. So if you have opinions on your favorite Croatian beer or your favorite craft beer from the Balkans, be sure to put that in the comments below. We would love to know that.
Yes.
So that's Culture by the Glass for the week.
One more drink.
Oh yeah. No.
I mean, we could hold this during the next segment.
That would be the responsible thing to do.
Right. So the next segment is the surprise question of the week segment. It's a segment where we have come up with questions that the other person does not know, and our hopes with this segment is that you just get to know us better and maybe be entertained a little bit. All right, so who should go first this week?
I'll go first in case you have mine and then I get to steal it.
Okay. I'm ready.
You're ready?
Yeah, bring it on.
So, just so everybody knows, we're in Dubrovnik, Croatia, and we were like, oh, this place is overrated. People are going goo goo gaga about this place. Well, there's a reason people love Croatia and Dubrovnik specifically. It's awesome. This place rules.
Yeah.
We've been here for a couple weeks now, and come here. That's all we'll say. It's fantastic. With knowing that Dubrovnik is so fantastic, what is some of your favorite experiences that you've had here? What's fun to do? What's memorable? What will you remember about Dubrovnik?
Oh, I already know. This is a softball question.
It is a softball question.
So we had the most incredible weekend. We are going to do a segment on hiking in Dubrovnik, but it is just breathtakingly beautiful here. And right now it's off season, so there's no people. So when you're out exploring, you feel like you own the place.
It's February here.
Right?
It's perfect
It's
outside.
perfect. And especially for hiking, because you don't get sweaty and you can just go explore the still sunshiny and beautiful. But this past weekend we hiked a lot, explored a lot. And by hiked, I mean we just started walking.
Yeah,
and
kind
then
of urban hiking, but with some trails.
Yeah,
Yeah,
eventually
probably
we'd be like,
about half
yeah,
and
maybe
half.
we should see if there's somewhere to go from here. And then we would look, and then we would just hike there. And we hiked on Saturday night to the church, which you might not be able to see in this shot, but over there at sunset. The sky was clear. The sunset was just amazing. And something that you should know about me is I have always loved dolphins. I just love them. I think they're the coolest animals, and they just seem magical to me. And I grew up in Indiana, which is landlocked, so I never saw them in the wild until I started traveling. So I've been looking for dolphins since we started traveling. Every time I see water, I just keep my eyes out, you know. So on Saturday night, we're at the sunset above this cove, and lo and behold, there are dolphins. And it was amazing. And we watched for probably 30 minutes while they ate and played, and just a really cool experience that I will never forget here. Just being on a beautiful hike, watching dolphins, nobody else around us. We had the entire area to ourselves. I don't even know if any other person in Dubrovnik saw these dolphins because we were kind of remote at that point.
Yeah, and we'll put in the description below the exact location where we saw the dolphins in
Yeah.
case you want to go dolphin hunting. It is a really great place. It's a gorgeous place to watch a sunset and just chill out, by the way. But
And a beautiful
too
view of
might
the
see
city.
some dolphins.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is you can see Old Town from there, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, so stay tuned for some fun videos we'll be putting out about some hiking ideas and just some general things to do in Dubrovnik as well.
My turn.
All right, what you got?
So this whole mini-series here has been about house sitting. We've had some very interesting house sits, but my question to you is, out of all of the house sits that we've had, I think 9 dogs, 10 cats, 2 rabbits, 2 chickens, and 2 ducks. Who's been your favorite animal?
Well, there's 2 that come to mind, and let's start with a dog, because this little dog from Northern Ireland, we already talked about her in Webisode 1, but her name is Vella, and she did destroy my eyeglasses. So Bella, I'm still, actually I don't care.
He wasn't even angry right
you
after
were-
it happened.
Bella, you were so adorable and so sweet that I don't even care. You can destroy all of my eyewear. I love you. You're a sweet little puppy. Stole my heart. I can remember we were watching Stranger Things when it came out, and Bella would just lay upside down like a little baby in my arms, and she was just absolutely a sweet little puppy, and she was super ugly. She was like one of those like so ugly she's cute type of dogs.
I think, was she a Shih Tzu?
Like
or
a Papillon?
No, not a
type.
Papillon. More like a Shih Tzu, kind of like a
Yeah.
smashed face,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
furry, and kind of ugly, but like adorable at the same time.
Yeah.
She liked to climb up on
Oh,
the table and
and
while
she
we worked.
loved to snuggle. She would get under the covers in bed. I mean, come
We
on.
let her sleep with us, which we do not let every dog sleep in our bed, but
Yeah.
there was no way that he was not going to let her.
She was
I don't know if
really
you can see
sweet.
my eye roll.
And then I would say probably Scooby the cat. Scooby the cat. But she was a super sweet little kitty, and she did this really cute, endearing thing where she would flop. She would flop and show her belly for a belly rub, but she would do it like on the concrete around the pool.
Like you could hear her flop. And you're like, that had to hurt, but she just wants her belly rubbed.
And she would climb up the side of the house and get like on the there were palm fronds on this little thatch roof area, and she would get up there and look at you and maybe bat at you a little bit. She was a hoot, and she loved her food. She was a lot of fun. So yeah, Bella the dog and Scooby the cat are my top 2 from all of our house sets. Thank you guys for joining us on our 2-part mini-series about house sitting. Hopefully
Yes.
we've armed you with some tips and hacks to help you get the best assignments for you in the locations of your dreams. So let us know in the comments below what was really helpful to you, and really any thoughts you had on the webisode. Also, if you've learned anything or had fun with us, be sure to like and subscribe below. And also, don't forget there's tons of links in the description. All of those links are below and more. We really appreciate you guys watching our webisodes, and we look forward to chatting with you. Helping you live your travel dreams is very important to us because we're currently living ours, and it's pretty fun. You
Pretty
having
amazing.
fun?
Yeah, I'm having a blast. So stay tuned after the outro for bloopers, outtakes.
Cheers,
Cheers.
everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. See you next time.
Suddenly we'll disappear to the promised land. Oh yeah, we wanna be saved by the radio gods. Want them to help us rise above the odds. Wanna get down and be lifted up. We wanna drink the wine from their offering cup.
Wind.
We didn't ask for you.
Bam.
Help us guys above all the odds. Wanna get down and be lifted up. We wanna drink the wine from the offering cup, yeah. Let me. Field of Depths. It's like the Indianapolis 500 for construction traffic today. The description, again, coming to you from. That's right. So let's. That's right. That's right. That was decent. Awesome. So.
Sorry, I was dancing.
Oh, hey, we got a mirror. Oh my god.
So
About their dog.
about your dog. I think we're doing good.
We are doing good. Take pretty best. Pretty good.
Gross.
All right. I'll have to get the drink anyway. Yeah, fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't. It's not creepy. It's a boy dance part.
Good one. Yeah, lots of construction noises here.
Oh, husband likes engines. Husband like engine noises. Gonna have to towel off and have a cigarette after that.